Hello guys, my name is Neel and today we're going to be talking about SARS-CoV-2. That's its official name, but we're just going to be calling it the coronavirus for this video. So, a lot of you might be looking at all of what the media has to say, but I think what's equally important is that we understand the science behind this virus so that we really know how it infects us. First, let's look at the cell structure. And that's really important because looking at the cell structure can help develop an effective vaccine and a cure. So the first thing we're going to look at is the hemagglutinin esterase dimer. And that's a long word that you probably don't know. What it basically means is that is the place where it attaches and puts its genetic material into the cell. So the coronavirus, as we all know, infects our lungs, and there's a special cell on our respiratory cells called, there's a special receptor called the ACE2 receptor, and that's what the coronavirus uses, and that's why it needs this dimer to help attach to the cell. Now the next thing we're going to look at is the viral spike proteins, aka S proteins. So these are the antigens of the virus. They really need to help the virus and distinguish it from others. But now let's look at what the virus actually uses to protect itself. It has lipids, which are basically fats that in biology we call lipids. So these lipids help keep the proteins and the genetic material inside the virus so that they won't unstick off of their surface. That's why we need to wash our hands, because soap molecule needs to stick to those lipids. Next we have the proteins, and we all know that the virus definitely is going to need those to survive and use as a capsid, which is basically the layer of proteins. And then, debatably, the most important part of the virus, we have the genetic material. So coronaviruses have RNA, and RNA is that genetic material that they're going to put inside of your cells so that they can start to reproduce and they can get way more viruses coming out and infect new cells, and the cycle goes on. But viruses are another broad topic that we need to make another video about. But now let's look at how your immune system defeats those viruses, how it kills them and eradicates it from your body. Well, the first line of defense we have are the phagocytes. The first phagocyte that comes to our defense is pretty much everywhere in your body. They're called macrophages. Now macrophages are these pretty big cells, about 21 micrometers, and what they do is they will try to engulf the pathogen and digest it with the enzymes. That way the pathogen can't do any harm to you. But the coronavirus is an infectious disease, and it will definitely penetrate the macrophages. Then the neutrophils come. So the neutrophils are these cells that will release traps to the coronavirus that will destroy the virus. It will release reactive oxygen species, which basically destroy the virus and perform lysis on it. And next we have the dendritic cells. So the macrophages actually sometimes present some of the antigens or the viral S proteins, and what they will do is they will take that, and dendritic cells, they will go to helper T cells. Now here's where it comes into an important part, because a dendritic cell has to give the antigen to the helper T cells. And you might be thinking, what does the helper T cells do? Well, the helper T cells will actually eventually lead to the making of antibodies, but we're not there yet. So the helper T cells will need to split into some more categories. Some will become killer T cells. And what killer T T cells do, they're really important because they kill off those virus-infected cells. And some of them will remain helper T cells, and then we'll talk about that later. And some of them will actually also become memory T cells. And what the memory T cells do is they remember the T cells, all of the T cells roles in this, so that next time the infection comes, the T cells will automatically activate and go in a fast and efficient way. But then back to our helper T cell. The helper T cell will go and activate something called the B cell. Now the B cell is what actually makes those antibodies against the virus, and there will also be some memory B cells to remember how to make the virus, which is what is also important because that makes you pretty much immune to the disease for a few years or for a lifetime. But antibodies are actually not what kills the virus. Antibodies will only destroy the pathogen. Well, not really. They will make it weak, make it immobile. But what actually does the work of killing and removing those are the complement system proteins. Now, the complement system proteins are actually made by your liver. So the liver makes these proteins, and those complement proteins will go to the pathogen, and what they will do is they will perform lysis on it. That means it will break apart the cell membrane. Viruses actually don't have cell membranes or cell walls, and all of the proteins, the lipids, everything, and spill out the contents, making it useless and not be able to do any damage. And it will also attract the phagocytes to clear up the mess because the pathogen is weak, it's immobile, it won't do any damage to you, but it still needs to go through the phagocytes. So that's about it for this video, guys. But be sure to follow all of the updates and stay safe. Bye.